Hello everyone, this is Zeeebo and welcome to today's AFK journey video. So, Setsahara, which is the boss for Ravaged Realm, is probably going to come to global in a few days time because this boss is already available on the test server for about a week or so. So it should come really soon, and in today's video, we're going to prepare for this boss because we're going to run through the skill kit of the boss and then giving our own theory crafting as to the best formations for the different factions, as well as take a look at some of the top formations that are used by the test server players right here. So first of all, I'll start with the kit, right? Setsahara right here has 4 skills. As usual to most bosses. The ultimate of this boss, Devouring Sands, allows the boss to burrow beneath the sands to create a quicksand whirlpool that pulls all enemies to the center of the battlefield. The whirlpool lasts for 5 seconds, dealing 30% damage to all enemies every second. After 5 seconds, the Sahara emerges from the area with the most enemy, dealing damage to the enemies within 1 tile and knocking them into the air for 0.8 seconds before returning to the original position. So later on, I'll run through one battle against this boss so that you guys can have a look at the skill animation for the boss itself, and then you guys can also theory craft the best teams or even the best unit based on where you are. Okay, so we run through the kit first, and then second skill, Heavy Slam, slams the area with the most enemies and slam down, dealing damage to them, knocking them into the air or knocking them down for 3 seconds. Enemies struck by Setsahara's hit takes 20% more damage. Okay, so what happens is this guy is a snake, right? It's a serpent character, so he will actually slam the floor. So basically the furthest unit, right, where the hit is hitting, he takes the most damage. So that's where you might want to sort of think of your unit positioning, because the furthest unit away from the boss itself will take the most damage when he slams the floor with the second skill over here. And then we have Sand Howling, creates a shockwave that deals 120% damage to all enemies. So it's a massive AoE damage attack. So the lower the HP of the boss, the more damage this skill deals. Okay. So third skill, Forbidden Sands, passive. The whole battlefield is quicksand. The movement speed of all units are reduced by 30%, except for units who live near and know how to traverse through the quicksand terrain. So this affects the movement speed of units. And for units that are not within the sand type of terrain, which are mainly your mauler characters, they will have a massive movement speed reduction, which reduces efficiency for certain melee characters. But in most cases, I don't think Forbidden Sands actually affect the general meta itself, because most of the good units for this game modes, they are generally range units in the first place. Okay, so that's the skill kit. Right, next we're going to run through the animation of the boss, where I'm going to talk about the different skill. So let's just revise the skill once again. Right, we have Devouring Sand, which is one where it pulls everyone together and then come up to do damage and then control the enemy, which is your team. And then second one is Heavy Slam, just a massive slam, and then the unit all the way at the back will be hit by the head to take more damage. And then we have Sand Howling, which is a massive AoE damage, and obviously the Forbidden Sands. So without further ado, let's dive into one of the battles to showcase the animation of the boss. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put our dear Arden over here. Pardon me for my account because it's really weak, but let me just adjust the levels of my unit. We're going to give Iron the higher levels, and without further ado, let's go at one time so that we can talk all about the different skills. Okay, so that's the Sand Howling, the massive raw AoE skill, and then this is the Slam. So right here, Arden, where he's the furthest unit away, takes the most damage because he's hit by the head of the boss. Okay, so this is the Slam. So the further the unit is away from the boss itself, the more damage the unit will take, right, based on where the hit lands. Okay, so we have all the units going in, so that's where the ultimate comes in. The boss will burrow under the sand, and then your units can still normal attack and hit the boss while the boss is burrowing, and then he will come out and then hit all the units and then disable them. So there's a little bit of downtime on your damage, unless your unit is like Lily May, is inbound during that period when the boss actually jumps up. Okay, so these are all the skills of the boss itself, and based on this, what I can say is the quicksand debuff, right, I'll say is only really like impactful in terms of when you're using like all the melee characters to chase after the boss when the boss is actually burrowing underground, because the units can still actually hit the boss when the boss is moving. But if you're a melee unit, because your movement speed is really slow, you will be actually taking a lot of effort to traverse through the map to actually hit the boss. So that's where melee units will actually lose out on the 4th skill of the boss. Yeah, so if your melee unit is not maulers or just units that don't traverse in the sand itself, then that will be the part where you'll lose a little bit of damage. Okay, so I guess you guys are pretty much seen the kit. So right here, there's a really helpful function, which is skip function. So we're just going to skip it to just avoid the remaining 23 seconds of the battle. And now let's take a look at, okay, we are very close to 70%. I'll probably try it again, changing out my team. So now let's take a look at the formations of the different factions by the test server players, and then discussing whether or not there are better team setups. Okay, so before we start, let's run through the different rotations. So right here, we run through the different rotations. So we have the Immortal Squad, which is your Graveborn units, together with Skalida, Talon, Barrow getting the 25% damage boost. Then we have the Dauntless Squad, which is the Mauler characters. We have the Sylvan Squad, which is the Wilders, together with our dear Dino as well as Reyna. And then we have Aurora Squad, which is the Lightbearer characters, together with Resto. So in terms of the best teams, right, for this boss based on the different squads itself. So if you take a look at the Immortal Squad, which is the Graveborn side, the best team based on my server right here is one consisting of Torrent, Talon, Skalita, Ludovic, as well as Sisia. Okay, so if I take a look at this team itself, this is a pre-season team without seasonal skill. So with seasonal skill, I think Torrent will still remain relatively relevant in terms of doing damage for the team. Talon is definitely going to be really good for this boss because like she doesn't really need to do much. I mean, she doesn't really need to move much to actually deal damage. And although the boss can actually stun her, so Talon might not be like the most optimal unit. We shall see, because Talon's season skill ain't exactly that good. And then for Skalita's case, I can see her being a good buffer with a seasonal skill with massive damage output. So I guess Talon is definitely a unit that can be used. Ludovic for the heal, and then Sisia, I guess, is mostly for the players here who are slowly building other units up. They're using Sisia for PvE push, but I think in Sisia's place it should probably be Carolina. For those of you guys who have a very developed account, I think the most optimal team for those of us who are in the global server with all the seasonal buffs as well as the seasonal artifacts itself, it should be Torrent, Ludovic, Skalita, Carolina, plus one more character right here. So I am actually thinking it could be Talon, and then what we can do is we can use the Crescent Spell artifact for maximum magical damage, because this is a pretty magical centric team, the one that I just sort of theory crafted. Because if I take a look at the other units itself, I don't know whether or not there are other units that could cheese more damage, but if we take a look at like the available heroes right here, at least for the Immortal Squad collection, I'll say most of the Graveborns that are good for bossing are already mentioned by me, right? Ludovic, Carolina together with Torrent. I think Sylvina is not really a very good bosser, although she does offer good single target damage. And I don't think she synergizes really well with Carolina if you have Carolina with EX weapon. So I think it should still be Talon together with Skalita for the maximum damage. So that's my theory crafted best team. So I'll test it on the global server once it drops. And then for the Dauntless Squad itself, let's take a look at the Dauntless Squad best team recommendation. So we go into Dauntless Squad, click on the formations right here. So based on this server itself, we have Mikola. I think to nobody's surprise, right, Mikola should actually be really good in this boss, because the boss actually automatically pulls all your unit together for them to fully benefit from Mikola's ultimate, which is why I think Mikola will shine here. And somehow combining that with the fact that she actually lives in this sandy location, she doesn't get the speed debuff, so very good and highly mobile character. And obviously, right, together with Mikola, we have Shakir for the Lupin Aura as well as damage output boost for the whole team. And then obviously Odie is going to be included. I definitely think the last two slot, right, should be Smokey, and I think it's hard to say though, because I think maybe Satrana might be a thing here, because OD is your main attacker. Let's just take a look at the damage output here. Yeah, so Oni is still going to be a main attacker. So if you're going to use Smokey, and then we're going to use Mikola and Shakir to just buff up Smokey, Setsahara to further amp up your magical damage might not be a bad idea. So I guess that would be the best team for the Dauntless squad over here, but this is the best team based on the test server side. So this is mostly for the preseason player. Yeah, this guy is using Setsahara, and this is Setsahara without the season buff. So if you're in the Song of Strife season, Setsahara's seasonal skill is actually really good for magical damage dealer damage boosting. So it's between Setsahara as well as Coco if you have issues surviving, I think. But if you have maximum damage, then I think Mikola, right, with some heal, Shakir with damage reduction from Lupin Aura, OD plus Smokey for the buff and damage, and then, right, the last unit being Setsahara to just further amp up OD's damage will be the way to go for maximum damage for this boss. Okay, so that's just material crafting. Let us move on next to the other teams, right? We have the Sylvian squad, so let's take a look at what is the Sylvian squad formation. Okay, so right here we have Lily May. I think Lily May is definitely going to be the main carry. Lily May will definitely need Iron, so for the magical debuff. I'll say in the place of Florbell, we could definitely use Broyon instead for more single target power. And I think Damien is fine. Rainer is okay because we can use Rainer here. Or another way we can do it is we use the buffing shred for Dino, right? Which is because Dino is also available for the Sylvian side. So we can definitely use Damien together with Dino, together with Lily May. So that's 3 units. And then we use the seasonal artifact that provides attack speed, and then we add maybe Laika to the team to provide an attack speed boost for Dino to do even more damage. So that's for the Sylvian squad side. Okay, so these are the test server teams. Okay, so pre-season they're using the older artifacts. And then lastly we talk about the Aurora squad. I think for Aurora squad, honestly there's nothing much to talk about because I believe most of the good Dream Realm characters like Merrily, Corinne, Tamasia, together with obviously Foresto is going to be still the best setup. And then maybe if we have like issues with surviving, we put in a healer in the form of either Rowan or Faye. But if you don't have issues surviving, if you are very thick in terms of your tankiness, then I think you can just run full damage with Vala. So best team I would say is Vala, Tamasia, Merrily, Corinne together with Freesto in the Aurora squad itself. Okay, so these are the different teams used by the players right here. So this is the factional based teams itself. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much it for this Setsahara pre-preparation. I think I'll wait until the global side to talk more about the best teams, so stay tuned for the best team forward. This is just like a sharing of what is to come for Setsahara, so that you guys know, okay, what are the teams that people are using, what you can actually prepare for, and then you guys can actually start to theory craft what could be the best damage for the boss itself. That's it for this video. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'll see you guys again in my next video. Bye guys.